Welcome to Word of the Week. This is Nick.
I'm Vinayak.
And this week's word is fairness. So over to you, Vinayak.
Well, this week I was actually reminded of fairness in many ways, and particularly in the way I had my first brush with it or experience of it as a child. Yeah, in asking my parents how something is fair, when I looked at, people who have siblings will know this, how come she gets to have something that I don't? That's our earliest experience of fairness, and it came up in so many different ways this week standing in queues and, watching people's behavior, which makes you throw up your hands and say, come on, how is that fair? It just reminded me how fairness is, one of those earliest assessments we learn to make of the world, and then based on the answer that comes up, we make the fundamental choice of either choosing to live with it or do something about it.
Yeah, I noticed it this week with some interviews I saw. Some folks were talking about certain situations that were going on, cost of living, and I heard that wasn't fair. There was this sense of, are we being treated fairly? And on the other side of it, there was also very strongly a sense of entitlement too around the word, and somehow the word being defined at a certain expectation, a certain level, and used in that way. So I had to bring it back to basically myself. Am I being fair to myself? Am I being balanced towards myself? And this word fairness evoked for me a deeper sense of doing the right thing at the right time in the right moment, if you can. And if you have to compromise, then keeping in mind that ability to correct it and be fair as you go forward will be there for you. The other thing that came up was child, like you said. It was more about moving from that kind of, this isn't fair. Well, it's not fair. My sister's got this and I haven't. And actually how that kind of moved into the teenage of not being fair. But in some ways it grew into something more. And I think it's not until you get older and wiser that you realize that what you deemed to be unfair at the time was actually circumstances moving you to a place of greater abundance, greater health, whatever it was. It was something that was moving you from. So the fairness in that sense it was almost like saying, I'm resisting this change. It's not fair. So yeah, it came up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think as we said, we understand that the world is not there solely to cater to our needs, and that there'll always be a gap between what we expect and what actually is in some ways. And I guess as we are growing up, we expect fairness to fill that gap for us and to somewhat make it acceptable for us, right? I suppose a sign of our maturity is how we react when that needle of fairness actually starts to point away from us and towards other people. So we start. That's how we start to learn that besides how is this fair for me, we also need to care about how is it fair for you and how is it fair for them, and ultimately how is it fair for everyone. So I suppose that's the dilemma, and it's also the opportunity for growth that fairness presents to us, or the challenge it puts in front of us to say, are you really willing to be completely honest, or willing to hear the truth about fairness?
Yeah. it for me, finally, it just really demands me. It makes a demand of me to hold a position and be truthful about my true experience of what I'm feeling right now that brings that word up. But also then it takes me into a sense of being of service within that too. So it softens and it lands in a much more deeper way, so that it goes back to, what's the right thing to do in this situation, irrespective of all the stories going around and all of the information. What is the right thing to do? What will bring peace and a sense of equity in this moment?
Yeah, like we always do, maybe we can allow the body to come in and respond to that, of finding what is the right thing to do, so we can embody the word.
Okay, so we'll get ourselves in a comfortable position and invite you to close your eyes, taking a deep breath, and in your mind's eye to yourself, silently say the word fairness. Notice how you feel. Take a moment to ask the question of yourself. What is the right thing to do? The next breath, take a deep breath in and open your eyes and reorientate yourself with the room that you're in.
As you now come back, holding the experience of the word with you, take another breath and actually say the word out loud. Notice again how the word makes you feel. What part of your life perhaps are you drawn to as you hear yourself saying that word? We'll leave you with that for this week.